Good morning, Dashers. I'm coming to you actually on Sunday afternoon from my home office, but I hope to post this for Monday morning for all of you in Ethnicity and American Literature, English 211. And I hope that you're adhering to the good advice given by the Center for the Disease Control about keeping away from people, keeping distance. Hope you've been enjoying some extra time with your family, and also even getting outside for walks now and again, or maybe even going for a run as long as you're staying 6 feet away from other people. I'll tell you, ladies, that I have uh, just learned about perler beads. I've actually known what they are, but we invited them into our house over the past week, and my kids love them, but they are an absolute disaster of a mess. So we've been dealing with that over the last few days when our kids have free choice time to do what they want to do, and they love it. So that's how my life has evolved a little bit in being home more. Seniors, let me take this opportunity to welcome you guys back from Vocare. I actually can't remember if I welcomed you back previously, but I hope your experience affected you positively and gave you some perspective on the vast amount of good that you can do in the world. I think it's a transformative experience and one that uh, is unique in that it really shows you a world outside of the one you inhabit and a world outside of DSHA where you can do so much good. So I hope that that was as powerful as it could be. I know some of your time was cut short due to our current public health situation, but I hope it went very, very well for you. Juniors, your college essays have been evaluated, and thank you for the effort you put into these assignments and also the interesting stories that you told to reveal your identity, your personality, and your character. This is a writing assignment unlike any other, and you did a fine job with it. So there are comments on those on Turnitin.com. So let's change gears a little bit here, ladies, and talk about ceremony and our plan going forward. We will use the discussion board to progress through our group-based discussion of the text. I want you to know that normally we would go through between 4 and 6 or 7 questions in a class period, and we're really limiting that to 1 to 2 questions a day. I know that we're looking at 3 questions for today for Monday, but that's going to be on the high end of things that we're going to do, and it really only relates to a few pages of the text. So the reason why we're doing that is because it's just not feasible for us to carry on as we normally would in a 41 or a 78-minute class if we only have that online space to dialogue and to discuss things. It's really quite a bit to ask you guys to be answering 5, 6 questions at a time. So we're going to narrow it down. We're going to distill it down to that which is essential in going through the text. And I'm going to work as much as I can to support you guys in this. Again, Microsoft Teams is probably the best way for us to be able to do that. With the posts, you want to make sure you post by 3 p.m. And that you respond to the post by 11:59 p.m. on the day on which we would have class. So I need the post by 3 because that will count for your attendance. So I'll usually log in and mark attendance at that point in time. And then the 11:59 response to kind of keep that discussion going. Not only do you participate, but you also respond to someone else. That would be something that you need to complete to get full credit for that assignment. And each of these discussions will be a 5-point classwork assignment. This is not a CTR. It should not be as intense or as long as a CTR, but it should indicate some good thought, and it should indicate connection to the text because I'm asking you guys to look at this. Think of it as like a journal response that leads to a class discussion that you're being asked to take part in. A couple of things that we're not going to talk about in the text, but that are, I think, very important for what Silco is building in ceremony, are Helen Jean's purpose in the text. She appears in our reading for today, and I think she's a very interesting character, but one we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on. So you want to be thinking, maybe what does she contribute to all of this? And that might be something you could use in a paper when we have our paper assessment coming up towards the end of our time before spring break, before Easter break, and also the scalp ceremony. We'll talk a little bit about that in class, but I want to make sure in our discussion post, but I want to make sure you're thinking about what's being presented there. Again, as you're looking at all of this text and it being very complicated, we're going to move a little bit away from talking about the poetry on a regular basis that's presented in the text. And my reason for that is not because the poetry is not important, it's very important, but because I want to make sure that we can progress through a lot of the narrative that is a little bit more linear and a little bit more direct in what it's showing us, so that you guys can feel like you can put the story together and then appreciate what Silko is trying to accomplish. As far as the CTR is going, you guys are definitely doing some strong work in the CTR. We want to be looking at the mind of the character. A lot of you are talking about Tayo's mind and how the text construction represents his mind. You're talking about identity and how construction informs identity. And you're also talking about significance of trauma, among other things. So ladies, very, very good job on the CTR posts. Remember in the replies that you should be trying to disagree with the post that you are seeing as a means of facilitating discussion. The responses should not start with "I agree" or "everything you said is so correct." You want to make sure you're engaging in that dialogue and really pushing each other and challenging each other to arrive at a greater understanding. If we don't push ourselves, if we don't push each other, we're going to have a difficult time making as much progress as we could, especially in this virtual environment. So some questions I have for you about the whole novel in regard to how things have been going so far with the CTR is, what is Tayo's path forward to success? What do you think it's going to take for him to be successful? And do you anticipate success? Do you think he's going to be successful? Secondly, will the structure of the text represent a way forward in the same way that it represents Tayo's struggle? So if he's going to progress as a character, do you think that the text will show that in the same way that it shows his distress or his inability to cope or his confusion about his identity? So I just think it's interesting to think, if we're focusing so much on structure, is it going to make sense? Is it going to come together? And whether or not it does, what does that signify? Ladies, if you have questions about what's going on, if you want to get together and talk, again, Microsoft Teams is a great thing for us to be able to use. And I want to invite you, if you want to do this, this is not a requirement for the course, especially because we're not all planning on being together at one point in time in this class setting. I want to invite you to video conference with me. And if you want to establish a team on Microsoft Teams within our Ethnicity and American Literature class, you can do that, and then you guys can just call me and we can talk things out, and we can invite other people to the meeting, other students in the class. And I think that's a really powerful function for Teams, for us to be able to interact with each other and engage on questions that you have, okay? So if you want a video conference, sort out who you want to talk with. Let me know when you can do it, and let's do it. I'd be excited to do that. And to be honest, it would be nice to see you guys, even if it's not the whole class. It'd be nice to see you, because I do miss you. I miss our time together. I miss the community that we were building in our class, which I think is essential to this class in particular, outside of it being essential to the wider world of education. And I think that it would be good for us to see each other and to talk. So if you want to do that, ladies, I'm available. Let me know when you want to make that happen, and I'll work to be available so we can chat. As we're coming to a conclusion for this video, I just want to say to you guys, take care of yourselves. Keep in touch, ask questions if you have them, and let me know how I can help in this virtual learning platform especially. So until next time, until we see each other again in this virtual learning platform, this is Mr. Lewinsky, and I will see you guys soon.